any weapons, nor can it be burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor with it by the wind. Text 24. Achyeyoyam adhayoyam ateyo shoshaevacha nityasarvagataśthano atsaloyam sanatanaha. This individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble, it can be neither burned nor dry. He is everlasting, all-pervading, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. Text 25. Avyakthayam achintyoyam avikhayoyam tusipe iswantivam viditvanam nanushochitam ardasi. It is said that the soul is invisible, inconceivable, immutable, and unchangeable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body. 26. Akachayam nityajatam nityam bhavan nisevantam Tavitam mahapaho nayanashochitam ardasi. However, you think that the soul is perpetually born and always dies, still you have no reason to lament, O mighty harmony. 27. Jatasya hi dhruvo mritya dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmat pariharyante vitam shochitam ardasi. For one who is taken his birth, death is certain, and for one who is dead, birth is certain. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. 28. Avyakthani bhutani vyaktamanyani bharata avyaktanidhanani eva tatchaka paripevana. All created beings are unmanifest in the beginning, manifest in the interim state, and unmanifest again when they are annihilated. So what need is there for lamentation? Text 29. Ascharya Vashvashtikashchalenam Ascharya Vavadati Kakaya Vachandita Ascharya Vaschayana Shinoti Shvakenam Nilinchaiva Kaschit. Some look on the soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing, and some hear him as amazing, while others, even after hearing about it, cannot understand him at all. Text 30. Dehi nityam pratyoyam dehi sarvasya bharata tasmat sarvani bhutani pratham shochitam ardasi. O descendant of Bharat, he who dwells in the body is eternal and can never be slain. Therefore, you need not grieve for any creature. Text 31. Sudhanam api chavesha navishkamritam ardasi dharmyadi yadhashchayanya kshatriyasya vedite. Consider your specific duty as a kshatriya. You should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principles, for there is no need of hesitation. Text 32. Yarishya Shobhanam Svaravaram Abhavritam Sukhina Kshatriya Bharta Labhavande Yudam Idrisham. O Bharta, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought. Opening for them the doors to the heavenly planets. So we'll go to text 22. We'll read the translation. What by the divine mercy of God is from the God. As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, similarly the soul accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones earthly. Change of body by the atomic individual soul is an accepted fact. Even some of the modern scientists who do not believe in the existence of the soul, at the same time cannot explain the source of energy from the heart, have to accept continuous changes of body which appear from childhood to boyhood and from boyhood to youth, and again from youth to old age. From old age, the change is transferred to another body. This has already been explained in the previous verse. Transference of the atomic individual soul to another body is made possible by the grace of the supersoul. The supersoul fulfills the desire of the atomic soul as one friend fulfills the desire of another. The Veda is like the Munda Upanishad, as well as Shvetashvatara Upanishad. Compare the soul and the supersoul to two friendly birds sitting on the same tree. One of the birds, the individual atomic soul, is eating the fruit of the tree, and the other bird, Krishna, is simply watching his friend. Of these two birds, although they are the same in quality, one is captivated by the fruits of the material tree, while the other is simply witnessing the activities of his friend. Krishna is the witnessing bird, and Arjuna is the eating bird. Although they are friends, one is still the master, and the other is the servant. Forgetfulness of this relationship of the atomic soul is the cause of one's changing his position from one tree to another, or from one body to another. The Jiva soul is struggling very hard on the tree of the material body, but as soon as he agrees to accept the other bird as the supreme spiritual master, as Arjuna agreed to do by voluntary surrender to Krishna for instruction, the subordinate bird immediately becomes free from all limitations. Both the Katha Upanishad and Shvetashvatara Upanishad confirm this. Samani vrikshe purusho vakno vishalasho muyamanaha jushtamya pashyatyanam ishamsya mahimana vivihashobhara. Although the two birds are in the same tree, the eating bird is fully engrossed with anxiety and moroseness as the enjoyer of the fruits of the tree. But if in some way or other he turns his face to his friend, who is the Lord, and knows his glories, and once the suffering bird, he was free from all anxieties. Arjuna has now turned his face towards his eternal friend Krishna, and is understanding Bhagavad Gita from him. And thus hearing from Krishna, he can understand the supreme glories of the Lord and become free from limitation. Arjuna is advised herewith by the Lord not to lament for the bodily change of his old grandfather and his teacher. He should rather be happy to kill their bodies in a righteous fight so that they may be cleansed at once of all reactions from various bodily activities. One who lays down his life on the sacrificial altar or in the proper battlefield is at once cleansed of bodily reactions and promoted to a higher status of life. So there is no cause for Arjuna's lamentation. Questions? Thoughts? Oh, question. I was just thinking about Kali Yuga and how it's so hard to like it's Prabhupada would say all the time that it's impossible to know Krishna. It's very difficult to understand Krishna. And the only saving grace in this Kali Yuga is that we have the Maha and Lord Chaitanya and so many other things. But I'm wondering, I read in the CC that Lord Chaitanya only comes once in a day for Mom. So what happens to all the other Kali Yugas? Is everyone there just for 1,000 cycles of yugas they just suffer in the Kali Yuga and there's no way to get out of it? Or what I've heard is that the Lord descends and propagates the chanting of the holy names every Kali Yuga, but Lord Chaitanya only comes once in the day of the Mala mentioned. So when Lord Chaitanya appears, it's very, very special because instead of Krishna descending as a particular avatar, it's Krishna himself in the form of his devotee, who's given freely the highest benediction of love of God. This is described by Rupa Goswami in his Lahu Bhagavatam Gita. I've never read it, but I've heard about it, and in that book, he fully analyzes the different incarnations of the Lord. So I've heard that that information can be found there. Okay. Thank you. I don't know what exactly that personality looks like, or what happens. Okay, that's what I've heard. You have something? Hello. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Let's see. I have a question about the limitation. So there's a lot of things that happen in the material world, especially with our bodies and natural behaviors and societal norms and all that. So limitation seems to be like a natural occurrence, like it just happens. Like we don't, it's not like we go out of our way, like, oh, I'm gonna go in today. So it's kind of like, you know, we have our, somebody who passes away, we have our ceremonies, we have our grieving process, all that. We naturally have this limitation. So Krishna's saying to give it up. I guess it's just part of the material world. I might be kind of answering my own question, but I'm just, but you could just speak on that, maybe why even have a limitation to begin with. It's like, I'm not really sure what my question is exactly, but that's about as much as I got.
Yeah, so I could try to shed light on that in a few different ways. I'll take like a wider perspective. One way of looking at it is in one purport in the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada he mentions that there may be a cashier working for a business, and the cashier's counting so much money, so many dollars comes through the cashier's hands, but all the money's going to the business, and the business provides a salary for the cashier. So he gets his quota. And if anything happens to that money, the lump sum of the business money, then he's not disturbed. So the point is, he's not identifying with that to be his, so therefore there's no limitation. He's just accepting what's given to him. So similarly, we lament because we're thinking we're losing something. So if I'm connected to a certain family member and I lose my mother, my father, or my brother, then I lament because I'm thinking I'm losing something dear to me, which personal relationships are there. It's undeniable. See, different spiritualists, such as the personalists, will say, no lamenting ever. That's just mine. But we hear Narottam Das Thakur in many of his bhajans, he's lamenting over losing relationships that he's had with great devotees. So, how to understand this now? From a more mundane level, I may lament over my family members missing, but then we hear in Bhagavatam that when a family comes together, it's simply just like sticks coming together in a river. If you look in a river, there's different sticks and debris floating in the river, and they're going downstream. Sometimes they get caught up in a little eddy or a whirlpool where there's like a branch blocking the way, and they get piled up. So they come together for some time, and then over the course of time, they split again. So lamenting for our family members is just like that. We're lamenting over things because we're thinking it's related to our body. We're thinking the body to be ourselves, so we're lamenting to the things related to that. But it's only temporary. So Krishna is saying, why lament over these temporary matters? Somebody who's actually learned can see beyond the temporary and see that these eternal souls are living forever and they'll leave and go to another. But once Srila Prabhupada, I believe it was after his sister left his body. His sister is Vaishnava. His whole family was devotees. And when she left, Prabhupada, he remarked, he made a comment saying that the bond of family members is very strong. So even so, we may have this transcendental knowledge, we still may feel some lamentation of sadness and moroseness, missing certain people that we've spent time with, whether it's a devotee or not. We spend time with people, and every Krishna is in the heart of all living entities. So he's there directing their wanderings, and we may have interactions with different people who touch our hearts and help us along our journey along the way. So lamentation is only natural because at a spiritual level, we're all persons, so we value personal relationships.
So it's natural to lament over that. But somebody who's in transcendental knowledge can see the difference between spirit and body. So what am I really lamenting for? Am I lamenting for this body, thinking that somebody just died forever? Or am I lamenting, missing that relationship because they moved on? So somebody who's not in knowledge at all will lament over losing this person, but really the body just decomposes and goes back into earth and the five elements, and the soul goes on to another destination. So from a higher sense, you could say what's there actually to lament about. Krishna speaking this knowledge from this higher sense that you're fighting your family members and you're afraid to kill your grandfather, your teacher, but if you kill them, their old bodies are going to be destroyed and they'll be given new, fresh bodies in a better situation because they're all kshatriyas and you're assembled on this battlefield fighting for religious principles. So as long as everybody performs their dharma and acts according to their duty, then they'll be given a better position. So that's lamentation on a nature more of a personal level. But we could see lamentation for material possessions lost is completely waste of time. Because we have, you're talking about this question, and what first came to my mind is that the scriptures say that whatever happiness and distress is there in our karma will naturally come to us. So we can try so hard to avoid the stress and try to pursue happiness, but naturally, whatever we have destined to come to us will come. And I was hearing from my Guru Maharaj actually, he's talking about back in the days they had suitcases and they didn't have wheels. Nowadays all the luggage has wheels. You see people at the airport, everybody's like running around, everything's rolling on wheels. Before they carry these big bags, and you can't carry them forever. You carry it one arm and it gets tired, and you put it on your shoulder, and you put it on this arm, and you move it here. And this is like our karma. We try to move it and shape it around and do like this, do like that. And I'll take care of my body this way, I'll eat this way, I'll act this way, I'll think this, but still we're subject to our karma. So happiness and distress will eventually come. So from that sense, what's the point of getting into the business of lamenting and seeking, situations where you wouldn't lament? So one who has that knowledge can rise above that and see, oh yeah, whatever I have coming to me will come, and I'm just going to engage in service to the Lord because that's eternal, and I'll tolerate the past reactions to my karma. So in that sense, there's no use in lamentation. So using a lot of words to answer the question, but from all angles that you look at it, lamentation is not so much desirable, except if we're lamenting over the Lord, our relationship with the Lord, and lamenting over losing such great devotees or Vaishnavas. Because this lamentation or love and separation is actually a very strong force, and we feel separated from the Lord, or we feel separated from somebody who's very dear to us, who inspires us to go deeper in our surrender, in our service to the Lord, then that separation is actually a source of great strength. And Lord Chaitanya came specifically to teach this love and separation. Lamenting over not being with Krishna directly and working hard to regain that direct connection, but always having this mood of mind. Whether Krishna embraces me or not, I'm just his servant and he can take me however he likes. And one can experience much, much higher bliss than being in direct association with Krishna. So spiritual limitation, good. Material limitation, bad. To summarize.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So, but Grandfather Bhishma and Dronacharya and Duryodhana, these are all like eternal associates of Lord Krishna. So,
it's, I think I defeated my own point, but I'm still gonna say it just so that we can get it carried out. So they're eternal associates, so why doesn't Arjuna know this? If he's like, I guess, yeah. But, well, let me think about it, let me think about it. Yeah, well, why is he lamenting if he knows that they're eternal associates of Krishna? Does he know? I don't think so. Krishna says that we live many lives. I remember them all, but you don't. So Arjuna doesn't, according to what I understand, have that knowledge per se. And Bhishma is a devotee of the Lord. Yes, he's an eternal associate, and he has what have I heard? His rasa is on this battlefield, and somewhere he has this battle with Krishna. But I heard Duryodhana is not necessarily in that category, but I would have to do more research, but that's what I've heard. But, to address the specific question at hand, yeah, I don't think Arjuna had that knowledge based on Krishna saying, I remember all of our births. I was there, instructing you, but you don't remember. But to go further, Arjuna is just playing a role, he's playing a part. He's an eternal associate of the Lord who's never in Maya, but he exhibits himself to be in Maya, playing the part of a conditioned soul for our benefit, so that we can relate to him, so that Krishna can instruct him about the Gita, so that we can put ourselves in Arjuna's shoes and then really hear Krishna's teachings. So Arjuna is never controlled by Maya, it's just Yoga Maya, it's the Lord's Leela to reclaim the fallen conditioned souls in the material world to come back to him. So whatever Arjuna may be doing, it's just simply playing a role. So he's bewildered and he doesn't want to do his duty, he doesn't want to reform, he wants to renounce, he doesn't know what to do. That's simply his bewilderment, which is just for our benefit, so we can actually hear about what he's on. Srila Prabhupada, he makes this point quite clear. Okay, anything else? This is very nice points of discussion that you all are bringing up. I was just thinking, so Krishna, he begins speaking in text 11 to Arjuna. To 10, 11. So then we read till text 32. There's one thing to be learned in these texts. What is it? We are not this body. You are not this body. Krishna, if you want to count the text, how many of them do you think he actually made this point in? All of them? Maybe all, but like 2 or 3. Well, not the last ones. We'll get to that point in a second, but maybe except for like 2 or 3. Because in the beginning, Krishna says in text, what is it, 15? He gives like a qualifying shloka where it says, best among men, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation. So other than that, pretty much all the texts are saying that you are not your body, you are an eternal soul, you are indestructible. You are the soul in the body, the soul is amazing. Some people hear him as amazing, some people realize him to be amazing, and some people after hearing about him, can't understand the soul at all. So he's speaking of the nature of the soul and that there's nothing to lament because you are the soul and you're eternal. The eternal is imperishable and it's never changing, but the material sphere is always changing. It's always in flux. So he's giving all this knowledge. Why? Because we just read in the last few texts, text 31, considering your specific duty as a kshatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting the religious principles. And so there's no need for hesitation. And 32, Uparta, happy are the kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come on side, opening for them the doors of the heavenly planets. So you see what Krishna is driving at here? He's told
these last two texts.
well, my point is, he from text 11 to text 30, he's basically saying, look, you are not your body. And then in text 30, 31, and 32, what does he say? He says, happy are the kshatriyas who actually have this opportunity. So he's trying to entice him to fight. Arjuna is saying, I shall not fight. He throws down his bow. And Krishna is saying, you have every reason to fight. So this is the base reason, is that you're not your body, and what you're lamenting over is just Maya. Later in the rest of the chapter, Krishna addresses all of Arjuna's doubts and concerns and slashes through these doubts to convince him to fight. So this is the whole Bhagavad Gita, is that we don't want to fight, we don't want to do our duty, we don't want to serve God, but we have every reason to do so. And it's interesting because sometimes persons may find themselves in a position where they are in the association of devotees, and because of the association of devotees, they're able to render devotional service. And outside of the association of devotees, then there's not this pressure to do service, and they're able to do whatever they want. They may feel like pressure, like, oh, I don't want to be around those guys because they make me do like this, they make me think like that, they give me this service. But if we realize what's really going on, like we'll be begging for instructions, we'll be begging for service, begging for chastisements. So our good fortune is Krishna humbling us at the lotus feet of such great Vaishnavas, which this humility does not come overnight. It happens. Well, it could happen rapidly, but what I mean is it happens incrementally. That we may find ourselves in a position where we make a mistake or we make an offense, and then we have to beg for forgiveness, or we have to remediate our mistake, or we're around devotees that say things or do things that touches our heart in different ways, and all these things are slashing our pride. It said that association of devotees and devotional service, it's like being next to a fire. And if you're too close to the fire, what happens? You get burnt. But what happens if you're too far away from the fire? You get cold. So we have to stay close in the association with devotees, not get too close to the fire, which means don't take things too lightly and start making so many offenses. And not get too far away where we're taking things too loosely and thinking, no, I don't really need the devotees. I'm okay on my own. I can do it. Prabhupada repeatedly makes comments about performance of devotional service that is absolutely necessary in the association of devotees. In our neophyte stage, we need the association of devotees to keep us strong, to keep us enthusiastic, to keep us engaged and most importantly, to keep us accountable. Because if I want to go off on my own, and you can see this even if, say, instead of chanting japa in the temple or doing whatever in the open, we go on our own, very easily bad habits can come. Or say if you're chanting in the temple, everybody's here and say, okay, I'm just gonna focus on chanting, nothing else. Focus on this, okay? Get a little distracted, get back to focus. But if you're off by yourself, oh yeah, I'll just take a little nap, or I'll just scroll on Facebook for a little bit, distract my mind a little bit. We try to cheat ourselves in this way. So association with devotees is very important because it keeps us accountable. So let us always strive for the association with devotees. And yeah, I was going to say one other point I was recently hearing about. I read this book about Gorky Shordas Babaji and Jagannath Babaji. Such exalted devotees, and not just them too, there's quite a few Babajis who are very exalted, pure devotees, pure Vaishnavas around that same time frame. Even then, they are perfectly fine being engaged in devotional service by themselves 24 hours a day, just completely full on. But even then, they hanker after real devotee association. But they would seriously expose hypocritical devotees who weren't practicing pure devotional service. So similarly, in our situation, we should strive for pure devotional service and try to keep association with devotees who have that same mindset and same desire to go to achieve pure devotional service. But we have to be tolerant. Yes.
Back to the momentum thing.
Yes, that's a good point.
I was reflecting as you were speaking, it was like, Earth is kind of like a place to learn temperance. It's not too cold, not too hot, sometimes turbulent. So it is in weather, in the body, and in the mind. Yet, soul, it never limits, is that right? That's really my question. Soul, because we were talking about limits. And can't remember. Krishna says that the soul that doesn't limit. So I think it says it's a loop. I know he says it. The soul's a loop. Does that mean the soul never limits?
Every range of emotions and feelings that we experience here is just a reflection of the spiritual world. So everything we experience here is in the spiritual world. So everything has its place there. It can be used in relation to the Lord's service. Like I mentioned, Lord Chaitanya came and taught how this loving and separation, or you could say limitation of the absence of the direct presence of Lord Krishna, is actually the highest one, the ecstasy. So this is described in the Nectar Devotion. I won't go into so many details, but I heard it in a very nice way that in Krishna's direct presence, those who love Krishna, such as the gopis, they see one Krishna. Just one. There he is. How beautiful. But when Krishna's gone, they see Krishna everywhere. They see the black tree, they're like, oh, that reminds me of Krishna. They see the peacocks. Oh, Krishna has a peacock feather in his hair. They see the bamboo in the river. Oh, it's like Krishna's flute. So everywhere they go, they see Krishna. So they're lamenting over that connection to Krishna through their lamentation. We could say it's almost madness, but that madness brings them more and more ecstasy. And we have examples of that here, where there's two loved ones and they're separated, and because their separation, they're always thinking about each other, thinking about this union, one side able to come back around to that part of the world, and we're going to reunite, and it's going to be so great, we have this plan, that plan. But in the material world, it's always short-lived, and it's not so spectacular, or it is, but it ends in a disaster, whereas in the spiritual world, that limitation brings much more. I mean, it's like agony, but the agony is like bliss. And then also it said that I'm getting to more specific with like Krishna's Leela, Rasa's dealing with Krishna's relationships. But when I'm with a personality that I really love, then I'm thinking, oh man, this is great, but sometime soon this is going to end, and that's not. But when we're separated, I'm always thinking, wow, I can't wait to be with that person. We're going to have so much fun. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. So like that feeling of being separated and then anything over missing them actually brings one much closer. So in one sense, the soul does not lament over things from this material sphere, but our philosophy is not saying, how do I say it? Our philosophy is not about negation. Like I mentioned before, certain impersonalists, they'll say, okay, this whole world is Maya, and you just need to get rid of the Maya, and everything is Maya. If you're lamenting over anything, it's just illusion. And this example was shown in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Madhavendra Puri, who is the guru of Lord Chaitanya's initiated guru, Ishvara Puri. Madhavendra Puri, he was leaving his body. And he was old, sick, and he was lamenting. What was he lamenting about? He was lamenting that he didn't develop love and attraction for Krishna, that he was lamenting that he didn't utilize his time, which he's a pure devotee. I could go, I don't have all the knowledge, but to talk about his glories, that's a whole other thing. So he definitely utilized all his time and energy to serving Krishna, Radha Krishna. But he's lamenting that he didn't do good, that he doesn't have this connection with him. And Lord Chaitanya actually taught that this lamentation is the most desirable. So his disciple, what was his name? Ramachandra Puri? The criticizing person? Yeah. He told his Guru Maharaj, why are you lamenting? Now is the time of your life where you should just focus on the Brahman, give up all lamentation. So he did not understand the exalted position of his guru in being this serious offense. And from this serious offense, he developed the tendency to criticize the Vaishnavas and create many more offenses. So Ishvara Puri, who is pictured right there next to Madhavendra Puri, he consoled his guru, seeing his mood and giving him more nectar to fuel that mood of loving separation from Sri Radha Krishna, and in this way getting his mercy. So lamentation is there. It's just like I said, there's a difference between material limitation and spiritual limitation. If I'm thinking I'm in this body and I'm lamenting over the certain persons that I've lost connected to this body, how many times has this happened before? This has happened millions of times. Many different life forms, like different families that I've had. I was in the deer's body, and my mama deer died, and I was sad. And I was in a frog's body, and my kid got eaten by a snake. So many things happen that we're not aware of. So that's the point. Is what's the use in lamenting over something that's temporary? But in the case of Madhavendra Puri and his guru, his disciple, this limitation. If I realize I'm not this body and I'm a spirit, and I'm lamenting over missing my spiritual master, if I'm lamenting over Lord Krishna not having his direct service or his mercy or his association, then this limitation actually is very favorable. So does that make sense?
So
What I meant to say is like our process is not in the negative, our process is going into the positive. So lamenting over material things, there's nothing there, but the impersonalists will say it's all Maya, so they're just trying to make it negative, to subtract it. but we're focused on the positive. So if we're lamenting over the spiritual energy, which is the positive, then that lamentation actually also becomes positive.
Yeah, I follow most of what you said, and so to take it a step further, our conscious awareness as we are living in these material forms is the symptom of the soul, and that this consciousness is affected by material modes of nature. So with transcendental knowledge, we can learn the material world to live in a spiritual way. It's kind of including. So in that sense, the soul can lament correctly and incorrectly. And I have to talk about it because our awareness is just a symptom. We're not like experiencing the soul in its full entirety of following material bondage. So I think I have almost kind of reflecting on that. I think it's correct. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's that we're training ourselves through transcendental knowledge to see the spiritual world while we're here. And Krishna, he describes that as the lotus sits on the water, but doesn't get touched by the water. Similarly, the transcendentalist can act in this world and be unaffected by the reactions of the world. So we may be in this body, and the body has to go all these different circumstances due to its relation with the material nature. But like you said, if our consciousness is attuned to the transcendental, through the transcendental knowledge, then we can see things as they are. So then instead of lamenting over material things, there's, we can see that there's no value in that. And instead, your lamentation is turned, and this isn't an artificial thing, and I'm saying this is just a natural thing. And your lamentation is turned towards missing these spiritual personalities or feeling like we wasted so many opportunities of being able to perform service or wasting Krishna's time and energy. So.
Guess we went 2 minutes over.
I was reading something about that in the Chief Secretary, like back when you said about seeing Krishna everywhere. Just that the devotee sees the outward body, and then you also see the living entity inside of the material body. So you'll see a tree. But he won't see just the form of the tree. It'll be like this, one hand he'll say, okay, he'll basically see that it's all his Krishna's energy. Then you'll see that there's a tree, but there's also a person. Yeah, I think that tree. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I saw a dog today and I was thinking about that. Saw what? Saw a dog today. A doggy. When you saw a dog, and I was thinking about that. Oh, cool. Like, oh, he's a nice little dog. And then I'm like, oh, there's a soul in there. That's a person. Yeah, I started a taxi. I gave one guy a ride. He's one of my friends. Intermittent here. Down this called his life. So he was telling me about the street down. And I can't remember. He said it like lad or something. I don't know if it's all these years. I can't remember exactly. It was something bizarre like that. He said it like a person or something. I don't know. I mean, it was, he was kind of a little moody, but he was, I don't know. He had a lot.